8th grade, English class. English teacher is a really weird guy and gets offended real easily at kids making fun of him, and he talks really candidly about morbid subjects. Example, I had moved to this new school at the beginning of 8th grade, and as well as being an English teacher, he was a vice principal. So he was in charge of showing kids around and interviewing them. In the first 20 minutes, he goes on a massive tangent when we talk about public versus private school. He was the principal of a private school, to the point where he starts talking about the massive suicide rate in places like Denmark due to minimum sunlight. Both me and my mom immediately realize he's fucking weird. Anyway, back to class. Around April, we have an entire year with him. For most of the time he's normal, with few exceptions, like the fact that he would inject some hardcore Christianity in our lessons on philosophy. One day he gave us an old philosophical puzzle of whether to save yourself or everyone else in a boat if it were you and 5 other strangers. Literally says, since I know for sure that I'm saved, and the strangers might not be, I'm completely alright with letting the rest of the party die. It was at this point that everyone in the class was freaked out. Still, what could you do? It was a Christian school and it may have been weird, but what did we pay for? We had this little conversation outside in the preschool playground. That was the only reason for us to go outside to this little playground. To have him establish to us that he would let everyone else die because of his beliefs. On the way up, he stops his kid Marcus from exiting the playground. With all the students giggling, he starts pushing Marcus's chest down, making him lose balance and slide off the kid's apparatus he was on. Continued to have his fingers on the kid's chest as he goes to the ground and pins him there. He does this shit many times with Marcus. Marcus is a class favorite of his. Distinctly remember getting pissed that his terrible essays were getting higher grades than mine, even though I was a little tryhard. A few weeks before the fateful day, we were reading Lord of the Flies. Basically, a story about a bunch of kids stranded on an island. Story about how societies are formed, etc. No joke, he literally gets up at the end of the class and states to all of us, in the spirit of the Lord of the Flies, we're having a little excursion for a few days in Sipsey. Sipsey is the largest and most remote wilderness area in Alabama and Mississippi. Oh yeah, and it's strongly suggested that boys come. Jessica, you can come if you want, but you don't have to. Jessica was the only girl in our class. Safe assured, I wasn't gonna go to that motherfucking buttfuck safari. Sure enough though, people started signing up. A few days after loudly exclaiming to my friends that I wasn't going anywhere with that freakish English teacher, I start to feel bad and left out. Think of telling my mother and asking if I can go. I ask her, and she says sure, but she would have to get it confirmed with the school. Both me and my mother miraculously forgot. And when the deadline for signing up was approaching, I just decided to forego it and take a test instead with a few days break. This is the last day we do anything constructive in class. Deadline coming closer. Heard through the grapevine that the majority of the kids' parents found out about the trip and removed them from attending, mostly out of convenience issues. We were supposed to have finished the book by the time the trip was supposed to happen. Spend the next week just reading and taking notes in class. One day, teacher shows up to class in a sweatshirt, looking hungover. Literally came in every day wearing a suit. Something is wrong here. Today, we're gonna make a little change and not read Lord of the Flies. Today, I'm gonna teach you about the Mobius strip. August Mobius was a German mathematician and philosopher whose arguably greatest achievement was the study of the strip that shares his name. Orders all of us to create a paper strip and then attach both ends to one another, creating a ring. His strip is also useful in philosophy. Hold the strip in front of your nose. We comply, laughing nervously. The outside of the ring is the side of you that you show to people every day. It's still part of you and is true to how you really are, but it is segregated from the majority of your thoughts because of the way society deems certain things acceptable or not. You see the inside of that ring? Only you can see that surface. No one else in this room can see it. That represents your deepest inner thoughts, feelings, and desires. This is just as real as the outside of the ring, but it represents the parts of you that make you absolute and also unacceptable to society. I need to tell you, and every single person in this room, and every single person on the planet has things about them in this strip that they will never tell anyone about, not to their deepest lover or to their closest family member. They will die with it. That is what you should remember when you deal with anyone. No matter how easygoing or simple or nice they appear, they all have it. Have a nice day. Let us out a solid half an hour early. We look at each other weirdly but just assume it's him being him. 2 days later, he gets raided by police. Had molested hundreds of boys in a 10-year span of being a teacher. Started in summer camps where he would groom them with food and force them to watch porn movies with him. Would be in charge of overnight lock-ins. as a part of certain school summer camps, where you would have dozens of boys by himself in basketball gyms for an entire night, would play games with them, which he would make them strip all naked and chase them around the building, trying to finger them. He would take boys too, and from sports practice, and force them to perform fellatio on him. Every time there was a complaint against them, he would simply move schools. We all get called in a few days later after the incident by the principal, who, through sobs, tells us what happened. Tells us also that the trip he planned wasn't ever in the works when it came to the school. Motherfucker was about to take all the kids in our class on a private trip with him, under the guise of it being a school-sponsored trip. We also had diaries that we would keep, in which we would have correspondence with the teacher on literally any topic. School didn't know about that either. I just talked about dumb shit with them. Didn't seem to be attracted to me. Darkness to Light also came and talked with us. Did anyone see anything suspicious when they were being taught by Mr. Sanders? Thought about it. I did have one story. A few months earlier, he noticed I had a messy backpack and thought it was such a problem that he ordered that I have him help me with it after school. After school, he leads me into his office. It is a meticulously clean office with a nice view of the courtyard and jar after jar of sweets. Want anything? Tea? No, I'm alright. Okay then, I'll be back in a sec. Leaves. Minutes pass. Final school bell rings. Janitors leave. Still not there. Couldn't look out the window to the outside hallway. Ended up waiting 30 minutes. He finally comes in, rolls some paper inside my backpack and orders me out of the room. Darkness to Light people listen to it and investigate. The motherfucker had a one-way mirror installed in his room. Surprise, surprise, the school didn't know about that either. They told me and my mother about this. We left the next year to go to a nice-ass boarding school out of state because I tried my ass off and was a star baseball player. The school lost a shit ton of students I came to find, and as a result, and went from an up-and-coming school in my town to basically a preschool attached to a church. His wife had to skip town, as well as his children. So yeah, that's the creepiest thing I've ever gone through. Be the awkward duck of my family. Mom, Dad, and older bro / sis go on a trip to Disneyland in California. I can't go because I'm stuck in summer school for failing math and English. They come back after a week, at least once a month, start having parties at the house. The basement is always locked now, which was where my nest was. They put it in my room, which was amazing for an 11-year-old, or however old I was at the time, so I don't mind much. This goes on for about a year. I'm used to it now. Just hang out upstairs playing Castlevania or Mario. They say they're sending me to a sleepover camp as recompense for the missed trip last year since my grades are good. Not the same as Disney, but it's got canoeing, camping, archery, clay pigeon shooting, etc. Go and have a great time. Uncle meets me instead. Entire house except my room is empty. They left a note telling me I should go live with my uncle next door since they couldn't be there anymore. Uncle never talks about it. Police can't turn up shit or likely never bother trying. Can't ever track them down. TLDR, I think my parents joined a cult, abandoned me, then skipped town. Yo, what the fuck? All over some bad grades? I think they were either already involved or got involved while there, but there was for sure a change in things before and after. Siblings went with the parents, and I haven't seen or heard from them since either. I don't think I ever asked to see pictures, and I don't think they ever went out of their way to show me any. The biggest question of me is, why were you not included in this? Makes me wonder if they and your siblings all got caught up in something in over their heads, and all they could do was intentionally spare you from it. I wish I knew. Not creepy paranormal, but this was creepy to me. When I was a senior in high school, I was hanging out with my friend who needed to drive to his girlfriend's house to do something. I don't remember why we needed to stop by. We went in the house and his super Jewish parents were really sizing me up for a minute, then told me to wait in another room. It was a TV room in the back of the house. Their girlfriend's little sister was in there playing video games. She was probably 10 or 11. We didn't say anything to each other. I just watched the screen while my friend talked to my parents, I guess. The parents closed the door and I was feeling kinda left out. I thought my friend was having some sort of secret conversation with them about something I wasn't privileged enough to know about or some shit. About 15 to 20 minutes went by and the mom opened the door and came in the room. She got real close to me and hugged my arm and whispered in my ear, "So what do you think?" And I asked, "About what?" And the mom nodded at the little sister. I said, "What do you mean?" And she was like, "Did you guys get a chance to talk?" And then I started to get real uncomfortable because I was starting to catch on. I don't remember how the conversation went after that, but I eventually rushed out and grabbed my friend. Still to this day, I'm not sure if he was in on the parents' scheme, and I still can't figure out how the parents thought setting up their child with a basically grown adult was a good idea. They were probably really old school and wanted to marry their daughter off to someone they knew would be good or something. Still pretty crazy for nowadays. I was 18, I'd never met the family before either. I had this strange experience, but in IRC, be me, looking for books to download, opened my IRC clients and went to Undernet, join #ebooks, search for what I want. While happily downloading books, somebody sends me a private message. That somebody is a guy who asks me where I'm from, and then he chats about what kind of women are better looking. After a while, he starts asking me my opinion about some girls he knows in California. He sends me 10 direct links to photos from Facebook. We chat a bit more about the girls. I finish my downloads and then exit the client without saying goodbye. Some months pass. I need to search for books again. I'd formatted the PC due to a new disk, and also my IP is different as I turn off my modem every night. Also, when I installed the IRC clients, I chose another username. Again, I go to Undernet, #ebooks, etc. Again, I'm happily downloading ebooks and someone sends me a private message. We chat a bit. It's a guy from the USA talking about his experiences as a new recruit in the US Army. Everything is normal, but after a bit, he starts sending me direct links to Facebook photos of girls. He asked me about the girls, if I liked them, and so on. Then, I remember the similarities to the other guy from months ago. I log off. Was that a strange coincidence? Man, I've been wanting to tell the story of my neighbors for a while now. I live in a rich gated neighborhood. A few houses down, there's a family of religious fundamental Baptists. I'm not sure how that happens because Baptists usually don't take the scripture very seriously, but these people act like Catholics or something. I'm Christian myself, Orthodox, but the way these people operate is just abusive and has really made me question whether I want to get married. They have 4 children, 3 girls and a boy. The oldest is 16, the youngest is the little boy who is 5. The 16-year-old was really interested in becoming friends with me, even though I'm older, so I'd hang out with her sometimes. Everyone believes she's autistic, but it was just how she was raised. I have to be very careful having conversations with her because she doesn't know a lot about basic things. She doesn't know that gay people exist. She didn't learn the word crap until she was 15, and she thinks it's on par with words like fuck. So I have to be careful not to say it. She told me about her crush at school and says she likes him because he looks like her father. Major fucking red flags. She seems to take on the role of mother number 2. Like I said, we live in a very safe gated community, but the other girls 14 and 12 are not allowed to be outside without the 16-year-old. If the kids run out of the door without the 16-year-old, the 16-year-old gets beaten. She seems to take on all the sins of the other children and is so brainwashed that she doesn't even question it. Every now and then the kids will say something extremely concerning about their father. If they create art that he thinks is bad, he gets angry and destroys it. They aren't allowed to be barefoot outside because they look homeless. Even his wife gets similar treatment. I remember her working on this beautiful flower garden, only for it to get destroyed by her husband because it was ugly to him. When this girl leaves for college, she's undoubtedly gonna be abused more, probably essayed, and overall just taken advantage by everyone in her life because she's so naive and brainwashed. Mentally, she's about 12 years old, with all the responsibilities of a mother and none of the freedoms. Absolutely sickening. Her father makes no attempt to protect her from what she actually needs protection from. There's this creepy old man that lives near us who literally touches her in front of her father, and he does jack shit about it. I'm also worried about the youngest, the boy. He's 5, but I put his speech development at the 2-year mark. He's also physically the size of a 3-year-old, making me think maybe they don't feed him enough. I think they might beat him too, which doesn't make any sense to me. The kid doesn't understand language, yet they expect him to understand why he's being put through the physical torment. I would call CPS, but I was beaten as a child as well, and I know damn well CPS doesn't do anything.